I'm 82 years old, and I don't say that lightly anymore. At this age, numbers stop being casual facts and start feeling like weights you carry with you. I've lived long enough to see most of the road behind me, and what's left ahead is short, quiet, and very honest. That's why I'm saying this now. I spent my whole life working, and I miss my children growing up. I didn't wake up one day and decide to trade them for a job. I didn't think I was making a mistake. At the time, it felt like I was doing exactly what I was supposed to do. But intentions don't protect you from outcomes, and love, when it's delayed too long, starts to feel like absence. I'm sitting here now in a house that's clean and orderly, the kind of house people imagine when they think of a successful life. Everything is paid for. There are no emergencies waiting around the corner. And yet most days, the silence is so thick, it feels like something you could trip over. I have more time than I know what to do with, and that's the part nobody warns you about. Time arrives when it's no longer useful. It shows up when the people you wanted to share it with have already moved on, built their own rhythms, learned how to live without you being central to their days. When I was younger, work felt urgent in a way nothing else did. It demanded my attention loudly and constantly. There were deadlines that couldn't be missed, responsibilities that felt heavy, expectations that followed me home, even when I wasn't physically there. I grew up watching my own father live this way. He wasn't cruel or distant on purpose. He was simply exhausted. He believed, as many men of his generation did, that providing was the clearest expression of love. You worked hard, you came home tired, and that exhaustion was proof that you cared. No one questioned it. We didn't have language for emotional absence back then. We just called it duty. So when I became a father, I stepped into that same role without examining it too closely. I was in my 20s, then my 30s, trying to build stability. I wanted my children to feel safe in ways I never fully did. I wanted the bills paid, the future secured, the emergencies covered before they ever arrived. I told myself I would slow down later. I told myself this intensity was temporary. Just a few hard years, I thought, just until I reached a certain point. But that point kept moving. There was always another promotion, another project, another reason to stay late, to bring work home, to let the days blur together. I remember coming home at night when the house was already dark and quiet. I'd loosen my tie, take off my shoes, and walk softly down the hallway so I wouldn't wake anyone. I'd stop at my children's doors and look at them sleeping, their faces relaxed in a way I never felt anymore. Toys on the floor, school bags half unpacked, drawings taped to the walls. I told myself that moment counted, that standing there silently was a form of presence. I told myself they would understand one day why I wasn't around more. I told myself a lot of things that helped me sleep. On weekends, I tried to compress a week's worth of fatherhood into a few hours. We went to the park. We ate meals together. I asked questions, but usually the safe ones. I was tired even then, and my mind was often elsewhere, already thinking about Monday. Sometimes my children would ask if I was working the next day, and when I said yes, they accepted it easily, too easily. I didn't realize at the time that acceptance wasn't maturity, it was adaptation. They were learning not to rely on my availability. There were school events I missed, not all of them, but enough to matter. Plays, sports games, meetings with teachers. Each time there was a reason that felt legitimate, a client who needed me, a deadline that couldn't move, a responsibility that someone else couldn't handle. I told myself I'd make it to the next one. I always believed there would be a next one. That's the quiet lie you live with when you assume time is generous. The cost didn't arrive dramatically. It didn't announce itself. It accumulated slowly in ways that were easy to ignore. A conversation postponed, a question answered quickly instead of thoughtfully. A habit of saying later until later became the default. My wife noticed before I did. She'd tell me the kids missed me, that I wasn't really present even when I was home. I'd get defensive. I'd say I was doing this for all of us. I'd say the pressure was real, that she didn't understand how much rested on my shoulders. The truth is, she understood perfectly. I just didn't want to hear it. As the years passed, my children grew more independent, and I mistook that for success. They needed me less, asked for me less, and I told myself that was proof I'd done my job well. What I didn't see was that emotional closeness, once neglected, doesn't automatically rebuild itself. By the time I had more physical presence, I didn't know how to enter their inner worlds. I knew their schedules, their grades, their achievements. I didn't know their fears, their private disappointments, the small thoughts they carried around with them. I thought those things would come later, when there was more time. The moment that changed something in me wasn't dramatic. It was a phone call I wasn't part of. One of my children was struggling deeply, and they didn't call me first. They called someone else. When I found out, it felt like a quiet fracture inside me. Not anger, not jealousy, just a cold realization that I wasn't the person they instinctively reached for. That realization stays with you. It doesn't shout, it just sits there, heavy and undeniable. I still believed I could fix things. I thought adult relationships worked differently, that we'd reconnect once work slowed down. But work has a way of expanding into whatever space you leave for it. Then one day, it stopped entirely. Retirement came, and with it, a strange emptiness I hadn't prepared for. People congratulated me, told me I'd earned my rest. I didn't feel rested. I felt unnecessary. The structure that had organized my life disappeared overnight, and what was left was silence. My children had their own lives by then, careers, families, responsibilities that didn't revolve around me. We spoke, we were polite, we shared updates, but there was a careful distance, a sense that certain doors had closed quietly years ago. One day, during a conversation about the past, one of them said calmly and without bitterness, "You are always busy." That sentence landed harder than any accusation could have, because it was true and because it was said without anger, as if it were simply a fact we all accepted now. At 82, I understand something I couldn't see before. Life doesn't punish you loudly. It lets you keep going. It allows you to believe your reasons are good, your sacrifice is noble. And then, much later, it shows you what those choices cost. Success doesn't sit with you when the house is quiet. Money doesn't keep you company. Achievements don't ask how your day was. Presence does. And presence, once missed too many times, can't always be recovered. I still see my children. There is love there. But there is also a shape to our relationship that can't be changed now. It isn't anyone's fault. It's the result of years lived a certain way. I've made peace with it as much as one can. Some nights are harder than others. Some memories return without warning. Small moments I wish I'd handled differently. Doorways I wish I'd lingered in longer. Conversations I wish I'd prioritized over my phone or my fatigue. If you're listening to this and you're busy, I understand you. I know how convincing responsibility feels. I'm not here to tell you what you should do. I'm only telling you what I learned too late. Your children won't remember why you were busy. They'll remember that you were. They won't measure your love by what you provided, but by whether you were there when they needed you, in ways that couldn't be scheduled. I don't have many years left. My body reminds me of that every day. I move slower. I rest more. I speak less. But I see more clearly now than I ever did when I was rushing through life. Time doesn't wait for understanding. It moves forward whether you're ready or not. I can't change my past. I live with it. I carry it quietly. This is simply the truth as I know it now, spoken by someone who finally has time and understands exactly what it cost.